recently, a man who is in the same prison as Dylan Roof, the person who shot up a church in South Carolina, killing 9 individuals, beat Dylan Roof in the face by punching him in the face and the back of the neck. Now, that story became such a headline that Dwayne Stafford, the man who did assault Dylan Roof in prison, has basically garnered enough support to be released on bond. Okay, so he had a $100,000 bond. He had been serving time in prison since January of 2015 after he was arrested on charges of first-degree assault and strong-arm robbery. Now, I should note that he has not stood trial yet, which is why he was just released on bond. He didn't have the money to do it before, but because of the crowdfunding, people had contributed to his commissary account, and also, we don't know exactly who it is. It could be one person, it could be a few people. He got enough money to be released until his trial date. Look, I don't think you should reward bad behavior. What I do think is interesting about this story is that he's been in prison since January of 2015 waiting trial in a country that's supposed to offer you or give you a quick and speedy trial.
That's almost like it's in the Constitution.
Yeah, weird, right?
Yet, if you're powerless, let's just sit in jail for a long, long time. So first I'd like to start, though, on a goofy note. Strong arm robbery sounds badass. And don't do it, and it's not actually badass. But anything with the word strong arm sounds pretty badass.
So is strong arm robbery when you have a weapon involved? Is that what it is?
Yeah, but your weapon is your guns. Your really, really strong arms. In fact, what we did to CNN by taking almost all their audience online was a 2-strong arm robbery. Okay.
Is this a full-throated support of or endorsement of strong arm robbery?
No, it is not. Don't do it. It's a terrible idea. Okay, now in all seriousness, I actually really don't like this story. I think that, of course, what Roof did was as horrific an act as you can imagine. But if we start rewarding vigilante justice, that's a really bad precedent to set. So now that Dwayne Stafford raised this money and can make bail because he assaulted someone else in jail, what else does that lead to?
Yeah,
it's a bad door to open.
I think what I'm worried about with cases like this is the message that it sends to people,
yes.
Right? So if you reward bad behavior, which is an inmate, violently assaulting another inmate, well, what happens in the future, right? If there's a mass shooter who ends up in prison, are inmates going to attack? I mean, inmates are going to attack regardless, okay? We know that happens behind bars.
No, but if they think they're going to get paid for it, they will definitely attack more.
That's what I was going to say. Yes, I think that gives them more of an incentive, and we don't want to give them more of an incentive. And by the way, don't get me wrong, I'm going to be honest with you guys, right? There's the human nature part of me that's like, yes, get them, right? But that's not right. Like, you have to go against what human nature tells you and think logically about situations like this and think about what the right thing is, and we shouldn't advocate for anyone to assault anyone else in prison.
Look, if we have vigilante justice, then we're going to have anarchy. So it's a bad idea in and of itself. But also, on top of that, at some point, they're going to get the wrong guy. And then you're going to go, oops, yeah, I guess we shouldn't encourage that. Don't encourage it. Don't give money to people who assault others, even if you can't stand the people that they assaulted. But Anna, you're also right that this is not a speedy trial. This is outrageous that he's been in jail for that long without any trial. What if he didn't do it?
That's
and then
exactly
you just
right.
spent like years of your life in jail, which is totally unfair.
It's insane. I can't believe it. And I know people are like, oh, well, maybe he's probably guilty. You don't know that. You don't know that. That's the reason why we have trials, right? And that's why it's supposed to be a quick and speedy trial, to ensure that a person isn't just locked away behind bars for years on end before we determine whether or not they're guilty.
This is a problem that comes with how the system is structured. Everyone's going to agree. No one's going to say, oh, yeah, we should totally have vigilantes in jail beating up the guys that we don't like. It's why there's people put in certain sections. Dylan Roof is in protective areas of the prison, right? Because this is obviously what happened, even if they don't think they're going to get famous or infamous for beating him in prison. So it's hard to call this happening, so I don't know how people would think. It's the same way you think someone's going to go viral on the internet. Somebody's going to pick up on this. I beat up the famous guy who everyone hates outside of the prison, and I'm going to get something for this. I can see how you could think that, and therefore it'd be anarchy. I hear you. But whose responsibility is it to stop this? we talk about the police violence all the time, and so the main thing is none of these police, generally, that's a big generalization, but most of these police don't get convicted. They circle the wagons and they make sure that these guys don't get convicted. So therefore, the anger that arises from it is higher, it's tenfold. So if you actually do something about the fact these cops are doing things that are wrong when they are wrong, less people will be so ready to jump on every one of them. So you should protect your cops, first of all, by doing right by them, by going through the system correctly. That's one kind of part of it. If the stories didn't come about Dylan Roof going to Burger King after them going on a fucking manhunt to catch this armed and dangerous individual who murdered multiple people, then maybe this many people wouldn't be so upset about him being taken in and treated with kids' gloves, and then when someone beats his ass, they want to give him enough money to get out. So that inspiration doesn't start with someone just hating Dylan Roof because of his face. They hate him because of what the system did to allow him to be hated so much. And if you start right from the top, you have power. You're the fucking system. If you're right, then no one will even be so upset at you. You might be able to balance this out a little bit. So the only people who are inspired by hateful acts are hateful people, rather than people who just don't like the hateful acts that you keep doing.
Dude, believe me, I totally get it. Because I think about those victims and the victims' families and the message that we sent by allowing that guy to stop at Burger King after he gunned down innocent people in a church, right? Like, I get it. I get the anger. But here's the thing. Being an adult sucks. Because being an adult, the worst part about being an adult is that you constantly have to do things that go against human nature. And human nature tells me, yeah, root for that guy. Dylan Roof fucking deserves it, right? But it's not the right way to go about it because it has long-term ramifications that are potentially disastrous for people in prison, and I don't want that.
Yeah, but I will disagree with JR on this. Look, you're right. The way the system treats people differently is further maddening, and the fact that they were so pleasant to Roof when they picked him up, and they have not been so pleasant to people who are actually totally innocent in other circumstances and killed unarmed people over and over again. It further enrages people. But trust me, Dylan Roof, after having killed 9 people in that church, he saying he did it because he's a white supremacist, etc. He was going to get beat down in jail no matter what. And my real beef is actually, in this case, is with the prison guards. I don't know why all of a sudden law does not apply inside a prison. Like, oh, you go into prison, oh, well, of course they're going to let you beat people down. There's going to be rape, and they're going to do all these things. So I wish they would apply the law equally no matter what, even to protect a monster like Roof.